Okay, for 6.8 we're only going to do part C, number 1, where we are required to calculate the selling price for job B20. So let's do that. So in order to calculate the selling price, the easy way of understanding it is just you need the cost, and from the cost you add the profit margin to get the selling price. This is just the easy way to understand it. And for management accounting, we know that the cost is classified as direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. And from this question, they also mention that we also need to include the allowance for selling, administration, and distribution costs. Okay, so this is just an easy way of understanding it. You just need your cost and you add the profit margin, and then you get your selling price. So now let's just put this into a table. So in the table we have direct materials, direct labor, then we get prime cost, and we add manufacturing overheads to get the product cost, and then you add the allowance for selling, administration, and distribution costs to get the total cost. And then from the total cost you add profit margin, get your selling price. So what you need to do in this question is to calculate each line item and add them until you get to the selling price. So this is just what we're going to do in this question. For direct material, it was given from the question, so it's just 2,100. Now what we need to calculate is the direct labor and the rest of the line items here. So let's start with direct labor. To calculate the direct labor cost for the job, you first need to calculate the direct labor hour rate. Now to do that, you need to take the total direct labor cost, this is from the budgeted income statement, and divide the total labor hours, which is 5,000 direct labor hours, to get 20 rand per direct labor hours. So this is the direct labor hour rate. Now from the question, they told us the job that we're trying to cost, which is job B20, require 50 direct labor hours. Now to calculate the direct labor cost for this job, we need to take 20 rand multiplied by 50, which give us 1,000, and this is our cost. And now we take this cost here and put it here. Our prime cost will now be 3,100. Okay, the next thing we need to calculate is the manufacturing overhead. Same thing with the manufacturing overheads. We need to first calculate the fixed overhead absorption rate. Fixed overhead absorption rate. So to do that, we need to take the total fixed production overheads from the budgeted income statement, which is 140,000, and divide it by the total direct labor hours. Remember, from the question, they told us that they use direct labor hours to absorb the production overhead. So that's why we are using the 5,000 to calculate the fixed overhead absorption rate. So this would give us 28 per direct labor hour. Okay, this is our absorption rate. So now we know from the question that we used 50 hours for this job, or this job requires 50 hours. So to calculate the manufacturing overhead for this job, you take 28 multiplied by 50, which give us 1,400. So this is the cost that would be the fixed production overheads that will be absorbed to this job. So we put it here. So now our product cost would be 4,500. Okay. Now let's move on to the selling, administration and distribution cost. So for the selling, administration and distribution cost, they told us from the question that the allowance for these costs is derived as a percentage of total product cost. Right. So now to get that percentage, we need to use the budgeted information. So that is from the budgeted income statement. So the total cost, production cost from the budgeted income statement is 360,000. And the selling, administration and distribution costs are 120,000. So to calculate the percentage of the selling, administration and distribution cost to the product cost, we need to take 120,000 divided by 360,000, and that's multiplied by 100. We get 33%. Okay, so this is the percentage of selling, administration and distribution cost to the total production cost, and this percentage is what we're going to use to get the selling, administration and distribution cost for the job. So what our total production cost for the job is 4,500. So we're going to take this 4,500 and multiply it by 33% to get to the selling, administration and distribution cost. So that would be 4,500 multiplied by 33%, which gives us 1,500. So now our total cost is 6,000. These are the costs for this job now. The next step is to calculate the profit margin. So for the profit margin, you need to remember this formula. Cost plus profit margin is selling price. Okay. Now we do have our cost, which is 6,000, but we don't have the profit margin and the selling price. But from the question, we were told that the profit margin is 40% on selling price, which means the selling price would be 100%. And then to work out the percentage value of the cost is 60%, just 100 minus 40. Okay. Now if the question said the profit margin was 40% on cost, that would mean the cost would be 100% and the selling price would be 140, just adding these two. But the question this doesn't apply for this question. This is applicable for this question. Now to calculate the values that you don't have here, the profit margin and the selling price, you need to use this value that you have and the percentage values here. So let's try to do that now. So we take 6,000 and we're going to multiply it by the percentage value of the profit margin divided by the percentage value of the cost, and we're going to get 4,000. So what you're doing here, you're taking the percentage of the value that you need divided by the percentage of the value that you have, which is the cost. and then our profit margin is 4,000. We add it here. Our selling price is 10,000.